looking at some selling pressure. We are awaiting the July retail sales numbers coming out this morning. The number expected to rise almost 2% for the month, but it will still be lower than June's 7.5% increase. Retail sales considered a key indicator of a healthier economy. Of course, consumer spending is 2/3 of economic growth. Joining me right now is Oxbow Advisors managing partner Ted Oakley. Also joining the conversation this morning, Fox Business' Dagan McDowell, and the chairman of the program in business and finance at the King's College in Manhattan, and Fox News contributor, Professor Brian Brenberg. Great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here. And Ted, let's kick it off with you and your take on these markets. Even though we've got some weakness this morning, you know that this market has been on fire. What do you think is behind this, aside from the obvious rock bottom interest rates?
Well, I think primarily two things. I think people all of a sudden, believe it or not, I think one of those things with the retail investor was the no commission deal back in the fall. And then the other thing is that once you get momentum going one direction and it looks like an easy game, it keeps on going. And that's what I think we've been seeing since this past low.
So this morning, you've got some selling underway. There is some worry about no stimulus package. Do you think that is unnerving investors? How important is a fifth stimulus, a fourth and fifth stimulus now that we are waiting on, and its impact on the economy?
Well, you know, Maria, I think what happens is that people look at that and they think, man, what a disconnect between Congress and the person out here that's just trying to work for a living. I think they miss that point and don't realize that how tight it is right now for a lot of people. And that shows a fairly large disconnect with really what's going on Main Street. So
you think that we need the stimulus package to impact the economy, or you're saying that people don't understand how it's impacting the average Joe out there?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I think you can have it, and it'll help things. There has to be some point, though, and maybe it's not this time, but there has to be some point when you don't stimulate. I mean, you have to get back to some point to where we say, hey, I might rather see things where, rather than just give people money, that we have projects or we do something where we get something rather than just send people home and give them cash. I would see that.
I see. Brian Brenberg, jump in here.
Yeah, Ted, I think the big question is, what are people at home really asking for and wanting? D.C. is focused on stimulus, but the people I talk to, at least in my community, are saying, look, what I really just want is some assurance that I can keep doing business. It seems to me that that's what markets are really paying attention to. The data has been better than expected on the jobs front, on the retail sales front, time and time again. Is the real disconnect that the American economy is ready to go, but policymakers are holding it back with the uncertainty about continued reopening or the threat of more shutdowns?
You know, Brian, you got a point. I think the thing is there's so much confusion amongst business owners. I'm a business owner myself, too, in different places. And I think what you find is that some have a fairly decent idea about what they want to do, and the others don't have any idea, and it depends on the business you're in and type of regulations you have. It's a confusing situation. I'd have to agree with you on that.
Well, what about China, Ted? You got the U.S.-China trade back on the front burner. Negotiators from both sides are expected to review the Phase 1 trade deal tomorrow. This agreement was put in place earlier this year. Chinese companies still eyeing the U.S. As the gold standard, with more than 20 going public on the NASDAQ of the New York Stock Exchange this year. But you like Alibaba and Tencent as growth stocks, even though there's tension between Washington and Beijing.
Well, I do, Maria. You think about Tencent, I think people miss on that company is that they don't actually do that much of that business in the U.S. They have I think, 1.2 billion followers, so they can't. It's something that I think people miss. Alibaba, not as big as Amazon, but certainly a fast grower as well. I think they will do well. I know there's going to be tensions in the U.S., but those are two companies that really have something going for them in the next 5 years or so.
Yeah, but you believe their numbers then? Because one of the issues is that these companies that are traded in the United States do not follow the accounting standards that U.S. companies have to follow. We've got another blow up this morning. We're going to show you now Morning Mover. We know what happened with Luckin Coffee, but you say you believe these numbers. You believe their earnings or balance sheets.
Well, I'm not out there doing the audit, but I believe their numbers. I mean, I think the companies that are that size, it's going to be fairly hard to really hide from what's going on in the world. First of all, you can see, one of the things you can see, okay, is the number of people that use things, you know, in terms of what you see on apps and that sort of thing. So, you know, while I know there's some concern about that, I think we're in a big world now, and I'm not saying, you know, we own a lot of companies. We just own a few Chinese companies, but we do own those too.
All right, we will leave it there. Ted, great to have you this morning. Thanks very much, sir.